Hello and welcome back to the Ikko Ikki Abridged. Previously we were storming our way across Shikoku Island, defeating multiple armies and taking multiple castles, but we've still got more to do. We're about halfway through the island. We've set up a new project against the Miyoshi in the eastern part of the island, taking out one of their armies with a nice ambush already, and the Aki in the south of the island just threw an army up the middle against us and we defeated it in a castle defense. Previously I probably should have lost one of my armies. I tried to make a crossing over to Shikoku and got stuck next to the European black ship actually, with this one trade ship carrying my whole army. But due to some miracles we got away with that alive, and now I can make the crossing again. This time I can dump the army in a location that's in range of this Miyoshi castle and a nearby Miyoshi army. So while I'm not able to move the landed force this turn, they can still help us out this turn because they'll end up being forced into these battles I'm triggering. First I lay siege to the castle, nothing too good there, but then my backup army can trigger this battle against this group of survivors. I think this set of officers are what's left over of the Miyoshi force I ambushed recently. And with this, they are wiped out. The Miyoshi clan's leadership is gone all of a sudden. I also attacked the other nearby group, but it just ran away, so no battle there. Then I initially thought maybe we could do this attack. The balance bar's okay, we could probably auto-resolve that and get away with this just fine. But for whatever reason I decided not to go with that. I think I was maybe thinking of drawing in these other nearby armies and pulling them over here so we could try and make the enemy sally out and get some sort of decisive thing going. Not really sure if there's any advantage to that, probably should have just taken the castle and taken the auto-resolve losses, but whatever. In the Miyoshi turn they don't attack, but we do see a full stack coming towards the castle to relieve it, so maybe something is going to happen there eventually. But first, the Aki attack us again. It's the same battle we saw last time, but twice as hard. Two armies have come through the central part of the island to attack this castle. We're still a bit damaged from the last fight, and this time they have a lot more stuff. So this is going to be a very decisive defensive engagement. Either we're going to lose this castle and then I'm going to have to go back and not attack the Miyoshi, or we can hold on and deal a big blow to the Aki. This video is sponsored by me, and I say play Godless Tactics, the turn-based tactics and strategy game out now on Steam. You explore an exotic future scenario, pick your own path through an open world of strategic choices, and use a teamwork-focused tactical battle system to resolve your fights. It's good, and I know this because I made it myself. Link in the description. This first wave of enemies has quite a few things like Katana's samurai units that will cut through all the stuff we have defending. So at first I'm very eager to slam them with fire arrows. It is raining, and I don't know in this game if the rain actually makes fire arrows less effective. It certainly still lets you use them, and it lets you use your guns as well. So not sure if it does anything. My reinforcements, my 2 units of militia are sneaking up on the enemy general, and here are the enemy's reinforcements, just a ton more stuff to crash against the castle wall. We're going to be doing the usual strategy to start off with on this particular map, which seems to be the most common of all maps. The enemy will attack this particular corner, we don't defend it, and we fall back so that our guns can shoot at the enemy while they get stuck fighting a Yari wall over here. That's the plan anyway. This plan does have a potential weakness, a big weakness actually, and that is you don't fight the Yari wall, and in this case the AI actually realizes that. They just send their Katana samurai to fight my gun Ashigaru, and that's actually going to be a bit of a problem. This could ruin the entire thing. Meanwhile, along the northern wall of the castle we've got a mix of ranged duels here and some enemy spam just making their way in, and we're trying to get as many kills as we can. Not much we can do once they climb up because they're going to outnumber us. This first wave will probably die just because they can't beat us due to their morale, but they have a gigantic second wave coming in. So we're going to hope for a few miracles over there. I had to resolve that situation with the guns being in trouble, and some Katana Ronin went over and did the business. They easily took out the enemy's limited number of remaining samurai. Then these militia started climbing in, and the guns themselves were able to beat them in melee one by the looks of it. So that's now happening. The AI are attacking the Yari wall and the gun plan is a go. Over here I had another gunpowder based plan. I've got these firebomb throwers throwing off this corner at one of my own walls. And you might know what that's going to do because we saw it last time. The firebomb throwers will destroy the walls. You get the weird physics thing, but this time I'd moved all of my troops away. so we actually just kill enemies, and I think we wipe out at least an entire unit of enemy infantry by doing that. Handy stuff. Over on this corner, the pressure's on really. Those Bo Ashigaru garrison are just going to die fighting in melee against the enemy's melee inf. But I've got these reserve militia garrison ready to fight once everything's dead, basically. That's the plan there. Over here looks like the enemy are making use of some rare parts of the wall. They rarely bother to climb over here. But we are going to be attacked from a lot of directions by the looks of things, including potentially behind the Yari wall. I moved some more Katana Ronin to just generally plug up that area. Looks like the guns are again facing a lot of melee pressure. I'm supposed to be helping them out with my Katana Ronin here, but there's this thing in Shogun 2 where sometimes there's a long delay between when you give an order and when it happens, if the order is something to do with the wall. So I had ordered my Katana Ronin to go in and garrison the wall, but they're just not doing it right now. Things are looking good over here because my warrior monks can shoot so fast and accurate they can rout enemies' full-strength militia units, or even Ashigaru units, as they climb up in front of them, and then, once they complete the climb, they'll be slaughtered. We take out a couple of units like this. But on this corner things are still looking not very good because the enemy's Naginata samurai have annihilated a bunch of my archers. I'm sending in my katana retainers to deal with that. Looks like some swords are getting behind these garrison archers. They're just going to go right down. Annoyingly, the enemy were shooting my guns with their archers from outside the wall. Not much I can do about that, and the gun plan has stopped again now. My men seem to have got out of formation due to my Katana Ronin's involvement in this area, so need to get them back into a setup where they can actually be firing. I'm also now permanently leaving the Katana Ronin here at the wall to deal with things like this. Another militia unit climbing up. They're going to be absolutely mown down, so that's good. And hopefully the guns will be mowing down all the other stuff that's not climbing up as well. I can now start shooting at this other fight that's taking place over there in the distance. Some of my men don't appear to be bothering to shoot. In fact, it's the ones closest to the enemy that aren't shooting. Not sure why. But as another swarm comes in at that corner, we can also do the gun plan to them, basically. As for my reinforcement attacking the enemy general plan, this didn't work at all. I actually expected this to work, but there was a hidden unit of Katana Ki who immediately wiped out all of my militia. Even though we have a bonus against them, they're just so much better that they can rout us without taking many losses. So that was a bust. But things are starting to work out now in the castle. The enemy have taken a load of casualties wiping out my sacrificial garrison units, and now as they get stuck in against things like the Katana Ronin and with the guns firing at them, they'll start taking losses quite fast. We did manage to deal with the Naginata samurai spearheading the attack at this corner thanks to some of my katana retainers and spamming abilities. It was a bit of a close thing, but we just about do it, losing a bunch of stuff in the process. And at this stage, the enemy's reinforcement army and all the stuff attacking from the north is kind of petering out. They're mostly now just archers, and they're firing somewhat impudently at my guys in cover and not doing very much. So that's perfect. The enemy's balance bar advantage isn't translating to much of a real advantage. They're not killing us that much. Meanwhile, the gun plan is now back in action. I've lost a whole bunch of things holding this point, so I think 2 units have now died to keep the enemy standing here. But it doesn't matter how many die because we've killed many more than that on the enemy side. It is working out. And here we are, back at that other corner as their attack just about comes to an end. We just barely beat everything with just a couple of katana retainers and some firebomb throwers in melee remaining. Our warrior monks are still alive as well. They didn't really help very much after they ran out of ammo because I didn't micro them well enough. It could have gone a little bit better. Looks like the enemy are doing one of the classic siege attack exploits to me, shooting from a weird angle so that I can't shoot back at them, sniping into the back of my guns, and I'm actually losing a whole bunch of guns to this. Luckily it's too late. You can see in front of them the enemy have now stopped attacking that part of the castle. We wiped out everything that was attacking. Now it's just this other group over here, and we can start committing all of our melee infantry into things like these Yumi samurai, who while will be okay against our militia, their morale will be low since they've lost so many men nearby already. And they're about to lose a bunch more because all of the last remaining things in the fight chain routed, and my run-in will now absolutely slaughter them since they have to run through me to get to the gatehouse. That's all looking good. Mainly in that area it's now just archers attacking me. So I charged out of the gates, the Yumi samurai already inside routed when I gave them a bit of a war cry from the warrior monks, and then we start slamming our way through things like Bo Ashigaru and Bo militia that are just standing here. They didn't run away, which really helped as well, so we can beat them in melee, even though in a lot of cases I'm fighting with my own bow units in melee. Mine are better, like these bow warrior monks in particular. So we take out, I think, 3 more enemy units out there while losing more men. It's all garrison units for the most part, so it's all good. Meanwhile, their other group of archers came through one of our open gates to attack, managed to hold them off with some militia, which is going well for now. They've got 1 unit of spears, which is coming towards this group of all nearly dead units, and because we're outside the castle, I thought we might actually rout here if we take an enemy charge. Luckily, I could pop all of the abilities on my katana retainers, and with that and a counter charge into the spears and our higher stats of course, we can quickly rout their unit instead, and actually we're fine there. So these units will now come back inside the castle, where things are going well against the archers already, because I can do the gun plan again. I did lose another unit of militia holding off the enemies of bow militia in melee, just because, as mentioned before, Yari militia are actually pretty similar to bow militia in terms of their melee stats, so a bit of an even trade. But yes, we shot into them at the same time and eventually ground through those guys, with the castle just barely holding on. Then I got together all of my remaining garrison units and sent them outside, because the enemy's katana key for whatever reason just glitched out and didn't attack the castle, so I had to go kill them. I just sent in all the sacrificial things with no strategy whatsoever, and this almost failed. We almost just chain routed the group because the enemy's quite a strong unit and my stuff's all on the verge of death already. However, by popping a banzai and a rally from the katana retainers, we just about hold on, and after a grind, which I'll now skip, we get to this final result. We did take an absolute beating there. We lost pretty much all of the garrison units, we lost most of our reinforcements, and we lost about half of our regular units as well. However, the enemy has it worse, losing over 5,000 troops, the best part of 2 stacks. So overall, I think we're now safe against the Aki. I did take the garrison out, by the way, and finish off the remnants of the Aki army, in case you were wondering, so we've killed them even more, and then I just sent everything back to the castle. With that done then, we don't need to worry about breaking off our Miyoshi attack. What I did here was kind of pointless actually. I set up this ambush because I knew there was an enemy army coming from the south, basically where my ninja is. I was looking for it. It's there somewhere, hidden in the forest. But in this case, ambushing 1 stack wouldn't do anything, so I don't really know what I was thinking there. But at least this move is pretty good. We can move up with our stack that went down the west side of the island and attack this isolated Aki castle. Used a few trash units to help out with the auto-resolve, and there we go, that's a capture. That leaves the Aki with just 3 other castles all clustered together here at the bottom of the island, so we'll need to move up with this stack. It'll take a while to get there due to all of the forest, but perfectly doable. Now a milestone economically, I put the tax back to normal for a bit anyway. I think we have some public order buffs from being in summer or something at the moment. But yes, I was able to get to the point when we can tax our people the normal amount. And if you look at the bottom right, we're making absolutely loads of money right now. That's just because, due to the unit caps, we don't have as many stacks as you'd have in this position in, say, vanilla. So we're a bit weaker than we're meant to be, but we also can't get stronger. Instead, we're going to have to just get rich. With the Miyoshi, there's no attempt to come and lift the siege, they just sally out against us, so I'm not sure what the full stack nearby is doing, but we end up being forced to take the auto-resolve that, frankly, I should have just taken the moment we got here. That would have given me pretty much the same result, and our armies could be somewhere else by now, so I don't really know what the hold up with all that was. I was being way too cautious. That's done now though. Interestingly, we have the option to make the Shimazu a vassal from this castle. Not sure why, and it's not very useful, so we don't do that. And the Miyoshi army nearby just walks off, so we'll fight them again soon enough. But then this happens, the Aki send another army up at this castle. I figured they'd run out of troops by now, but no, it's just happening again. At least it's only 1 army this time, and while our force is still battered from the previous battle, our necromancers have given us a half stack of garrison units, so we still have plenty of things to use here. Really, this battle's just an easier version of what we just saw, so I won't say too much about it. And I'm doing exactly the same strategy as the last 2 times this happened. One thing that was different though, is that my reinforcement army is a bit better. I've got several units now hanging around outside the castle, including these firebomb throwers. So the plan to assassinate their generals a bit easier. I can bomb everything, and amidst the noise, I pretty much rout my own unit by the looks of things. But the idea is there, we can use the firebombs to actually defeat the enemy general. Meanwhile, back at the castle, we're getting something similar to what I mentioned earlier. We've got units climbing up against our warrior monks and just routing halfway up. So they are being killed en masse. While I was looking at that, looks like I missed the assassination of the enemy general, but it did happen, so all these things fighting in the castle now have that little morale shock. They do have a lot of samurai, but they're mostly no Daichi samurai, not very good for a castle attack. And here's the enemy just being absolutely slaughtered, as most of their infantry climb the wall, rout by the time they reach the top and just die. So things are going well. We've got one more big play to make though. My reinforcements can rush over to the castle. They had a whole load of bow samurai and they started turning around to face the reinforcements. Potentially dangerous, but their samurai focused on firing at my archers back here, and it wasn't doing very much because all of their units are standing on top of each other and blocking their own line of sight. Perfect for me to throw firebombs at them. While the trees do mean a lot of the firebombs don't make it, when they do make it, we can do a lot of damage because they're standing on top of each other, as I said, and also the explosions, while not actually that deadly, the guys will get back up after being hit. It does cancel their firing animations, so I guess it's making them weaker in that regard. But soon they rout just due to army losses, and the firebombs chase them off the field, grabbing us a few more kills. Soon that's that, and we end up with this result. We did lose some stuff, but the losses have been strategically kept here to garrison units for the most part. So basically we didn't lose anything, and the Aki have lost yet another army. Now we've got another Miyoshi castle to hit, and like the last one, it does have a full stack of stuff inside. And also like the last one, there's another group outside, so I wanted to go and take them out before we consider making any attacks. Our support group will just set up behind the main besieging army here, and then our main force with our faction leader, which has extra movement points, can scoot around to attack the other group. Unfortunately it retreats, and while it retreats only a short distance, it's now out of my attack range, but it's also still in reinforcement range of the castle. That balance bar's already not that bad, probably could have auto-resolved that again, but again, I didn't, feeling cautious. Here's the Miyoshi's reaction, they walk backwards and forwards, yes they just did nothing, so that doesn't resolve anything. We'll come back to that, but here we have the Suzuki attacking Nagashima Castle. Suzuki are the other Ikko Ikki faction, so always curious to see them on the field. They've got the same units as us, but because it's Nagashima Castle, they're unlikely to achieve much. First we see, will they use their mangonel to destroy our outer tower before it kills them? And the answer is no. They captured it as it was destroyed again, so we didn't lose any damage on the tower thanks to the enemy's mangonel. And then it's time for our mangonel to get to work. The enemies bunch up in the little corridor in front of my killing zone, and we can absolutely hammer them using the fact our mangonels can absorb reload power from each other, so we can fire very rapidly. Also, it looks like I'm aiming at my own troops here, but when you're shooting at things that are very close to you, you have to take into account that the crosshair's like the middle of the screen, but the shot's fired from higher up the screen, so it shoots over things in a way. And after a while, we get this result. We absolutely annihilated them with a 100-to-1 kill ratio and hundreds of kills on the mangonel. Obviously that actually went on for like 15 minutes, but I thought I probably won't sit here and make you watch me gradually blowing them up, even though it is quite satisfying. Then there was a rebellion near Himeji. Did the old save and auto-resolve for this one because it's a battle we'll probably win, and I just did not have the interest to fight it. And actually the auto-resolve went quite well, so down goes that rebellion. That was another monk-inspired rebellion. Now on with our push across the south edge of Shikoku. The survivors of the Aki army we beat just recently are now in the castle in front of our advancing army, so we end up besieging a stack inside. Not a very good stack, but I did just leave the siege as a result. Back to the Miyoshi siege then. Now I can attack their reinforcement group, using night attack to cancel out their main army nearby, and with that we take out the reinforcements, including a bunch of tercios, meaning that the castle is probably now auto-resolvable. I don't know though why, but I didn't. For some reason in this episode, my desire to auto-resolve relatively okay battles was out the window. I just left them under siege again. The Miyoshi didn't do much again. They tried to do something to my army there with a monk, but the monk died. And that's that really. I really think we could be many turns ahead with the Miyoshi war if I was just being more aggressive. We saw that a Tokugawa army walked past Himeji Castle, so that's my line of defense out the window. They just walked past it. That was mean of them. The Aki I had under siege sally out, and that balance bar is fine, so we are actually going to auto-resolve this one and just take the win. In this case, while we win, we don't completely destroy their army, so this doesn't end the siege. But the Aki are now basically dead, and at this point they probably don't have another army. We lose some firebomb throwers, but better to have loved and lost, etc. Now it's about time we had a rebel defense at Osaka Castle. Been a good couple of turns since that happened. My quick summary of this battle is that I didn't really do anything and we won anyway, thanks to the various automatic exploits this castle provides. So we end up with this result. That all went fine. There are though some more interesting things going on with rebellions. Like back here on Shikoku, I mismanaged the public order of this recently captured castle. Didn't realise it was going to rebel, and it did, and it's a Shimazu rebels rebellion. The Shimazu are trying to come back over here. So that's interesting, gonna have to go back and deal with that at some point. But instead, again, deciding not to just take the castle, I went for this instead. I went to go field battle their nearby army. What I think might have been going on this whole part is I was trying to get a hashtag epic battle by making 2 enemy armies fight me at once against my 2.5, so we could have one big clash. I might have been trying to do it for the content, but this is the closest I can get. We've got 1.5 against 1 and a bit, and the enemy actually have some good terrain right here. They've got a forested hill with most of their army hidden. I'm going to split my armies up and have our second smaller army attack from a different direction. Here's the first army set up in a curious formation, which we'll get back to, but the second army actually saw some action because their non-commanding general decided to charge down to try and outflank this army. Not sure what the plan was, but it didn't work because he ended up fighting my strongest spear unit here. So I surrounded him with some other stuff over time, and eventually that general was killed. Their reaction to this was a very cunning one. They sent their actual commanding general to come down and attack as well. So I just stood here, let him come over, then he charges into the front of that Naginata wall, and again we can just attack him with everything. So we rout that unit. The general himself and their faction leader, in fact, was getting away, so I decided to chase him down. We catch him and then he dies of a heart attack or something, and that's the end of that. So now we can fight this battle with the enemy having the general dead. Morale shock the whole time. Handy. The reason I have my general over here in loose formation in front of the army is to do a good old-fashioned bit of baiting. I was going to run up and down and make the enemy come down from the hill. That was the theory at least, but it didn't really work as I thought. It did work insofar as they came down the hill and started shooting at me. The problem was, this plan only really works if you actually have a skirmishing advantage, and we don't really. I wasn't really thinking about that, to be honest, but they do have a lot of bow samurai and onabushi, and because they're attacking from above and with trees, our counterattacks don't do all that much. So we end up in a skirmish that's not necessarily going very well, especially because we do lack archers. Many of our archer units are basically dead from all of the campaigning we've gone to up to this point. So that goes on for a while, but I did decide to try and move my infantry forwards and get a melee fight going. A few melee units from the enemy side came down towards me, but that wasn't all that meets the eye either. As for my reinforcement group, I was going to swoop in to rear attack the enemy, but actually they've positioned a whole bunch of extra units hidden over here to delay my reinforcements. That's a pretty good move, and so is this one. Their melee units, after they charged down towards mine, turned around and charged back up the hill, meaning I'm forced to go up the hill behind them, getting absolutely annihilated by their archers the whole time. The AI is playing very well so far in this battle, if you don't pay too much attention to the fact that they already lost both of their generals early on doing nothing. Aside from that, it's looking good. I'm taking heavy casualties advancing on their army, and I will be fighting uphill. At least my reinforcement army can win this battle over here, because while they had the sense to block me off, the stuff they have isn't enough to win the fight, so gradually we'll get through here. Their most dangerous unit was some Naginata samurai, but we had some fire arrows shooting into their flank. Doesn't look like it's doing much, but theoretically that's a good way to kill them. I've also got my long Yari Ashigaru sneaking up on the back of the enemy's main blob, doing their weird shuffle. But we don't even need to do that because they rout before we get there. So it seems our reinforcement army will be able to break through and come to assist the battle, and I could really use them because the battle's very messy. The melee fights aren't going to be that good, although we do have some Yari wars going on, which might be helping. And I also have some warrior monks that are slightly out of combat, but are close enough to use War Cry to reduce enemy morale, making those fights go a bit better. I think it reduces their melee stats as well, their defense or something. We managed to outflank them on the right with some cav, and that's going to start turning the line slowly but surely. Things gradually go better and better, and you can see on the balance bar we have them now, especially because my reinforcement army is now arriving, with the general coming in first to annihilate some bows. At this stage we start to see chain routes. I did actually play the route phase for a while because for some reason I had a bad feeling about this battle. I thought this is going to be one of the ones where for some reason it doesn't get rid of the enemy after you win the battle. So I did chase them down, and we end up with this result. Everything's okay, really. Our first army is looking a bit battered, but if we can just take some territory and get a couple of turns of replenishment, we'll be looking okay. But for whatever reason, taking territory hasn't been my priority, as I said. At least this army is down, and we even had a mission to defeat that army for some reason, so I get some bonus morale or something across all of my armies. Very good stuff. Now let's finish things off here. I did want to actually go and attack the castle, but I noticed they've spawned a new faction leader outside it. Thought, well, let's go over here and just kill this guy to grab a free win. But with this, there is a catch. After he dies, you'll notice he just comes back to life, or another guy who looks exactly the same comes back to life, I should say, because they are spawning their faction leader here at this castle. And whenever the AI loses their faction leader, they just get another one. And normally that would happen like somewhere else. I guess there's no rule that stops it from happening at a besieged castle, so he just appears outside the castle. And I didn't attack him again. I thought, let's just actually attack the castle, do the thing that again we should have done ages ago. That guy also dies in the background, and finally we will have actually taken some territory. So the not auto-resolving saga I think is over now. Maybe my desire for a decisive battle finally waned. I don't actually remember if that was what I was thinking. This was like a week or two ago, and I don't remember things I was doing a week or two ago. So that's that for this part. We will need to go back a little bit to deal with these Shimazu rebels, but aside from that, I think there are now just 4 or 5 castles on the islands to deal with, and they're not going to be that heavily guarded given our recent military victories. So I think we're going to get there with Shikoku, although things are actually about to heat up on the mainland in a very big way.